It's a tricky time to be reading about the consolation of Israel. These are tricky times. It's handy to have a candle around to show what happens when there is disturbance around it. While I'm talking, if you're distracted, or if you're not, you'll notice these candles, every time that fan comes around, they freak out, just a little bit. But they stay lit. They move and they threaten to go out because there's disturbance and it blows on them. And it pushes them around. And it threatens their life. But they stay lit. If I asked you all to blow out your candles, it would only take one light for them all to be relit. Right? Because you would share the light. And you would pass it one from another. And pretty soon all the lights would be lit again. And all of my blowing out commands would be in vain. Because you know what it is to work together to make light shine in the darkness. Our readings today, especially the Gospel, tells us that there are people with power. And they command us, and they change the world around us without our permission. They tell us to go somewhere, and we have to go against our will. They change the geography. They change the geography of our lives. We have friends staying with us for whom the geography of their life has changed irrevocably. Coming from Ukraine, they've lived with us for a year, almost a year, and their lives are changed forever. Is it because someone decided to bomb their home? Yes and no. Because though their home was bombed, and though it is a horrific act of inhumanity, they have found friends and family. Last week, I joined with them for a family Christmas. The week before, others came to us and joined us with their family Christmas. And tomorrow, we're going together to share in my family Christmas. We're all depleted in one way or another, but when we share our light, it quickly rejuvenates. Mary was with child. She was pregnant. She had a kid. She was about to give birth and she had to travel. It says that this travelling was without choice. She didn't have a choice. She had to go. And she went, and she found that in the home that she went to, there was no room at the inn, but there were no inns. In Bethlehem, there were probably a few guest houses, but no inns. And because Joseph was going back to his country of his people, he was probably knocking on family doors and saying, "Hey, have you got a bed for us? Mary's about to give birth." But they'd heard the story, I reckon. And you can imagine what good Jewish families would say to an unmarried couple with a baby on the way. Someone blew on their candle. But someone said there's room in the stable, which may be in the same building as the family, but you're not coming up to be with us. You can hang out with the animals. And there in that stable, they were met by stinky, perhaps alcoholic shepherds who came in from the hills. They were in the hills because no one really wanted to be with them. They weren't holy people who listened to God because they couldn't go to church on Saturday because they were working. Yet God called them I don't know if any of you have been to the Opera House for a grand concert this season. I've had the privilege of going to a few, and one most recently I went to expecting it to be a carols event, and it was. But it was by Haydn, and it was in German, and I didn't understand a single word, and even when I got the words in English on my phone, I couldn't see them because I didn't have my glasses with me. I felt like an outsider. These guys were outsiders. They couldn't go to church, but church came to them. Not just church, but heaven. Heaven came down. Hosts of angels filled the room. And one little angel, freaks people out so much that they have to say, "Fear not," as a standard intro when approaching a human being. Every time you see a story about an angel coming into the picture, you get, "Fear not," because the person's cowering in the corner. And yet here's these shepherds out on the hills, ignored by the rest of society, and then heaven turns up with the host of angels filling the space, more than the concert hall could ever hold. Filling the space, not just with loud music and beautiful sounds, not just with bright, radiant beings, fearful, fearsome beings, but with all the glory of God, right there on the fields with the stinky sheep and the stinky shepherds. The outsiders. God came in the darkness to the outsiders and said, "I want you to be the first witnesses. I want you to know that I am here among the people." God came to the outsiders outside and said, "Come in." But he didn't say come in to the opera house or to the church or to the synagogue or to anywhere that would be remotely considered a place of civility. Rather, he said, "Come into the outside with me." And this is where he met them, outside, and brought them to the outside. God never invited them inside, and he's never invited us inside either. Though we compete and push and shove to get inside, to be on the inside, God is always found among the outsiders. If you want to see God, go and find some outsiders and hang with them for a bit. I volunteer at Rough Edges on Friday nights. They're not open on Friday nights anymore for a little while they reorient themselves, but it's a great opportunity for me to meet with God. To be present with outsiders is to be in the presence of God. Is God, therefore, an outsider? Well, I would suggest in many places God is an outsider. Is that the purpose of God being with the outsiders? No. God came among us to invite us in to his family, to invite us into the Godhead. Now that's a bit freaky. It's one thing having angels come in amongst you, but imagine if your dad was God. That'd be serious talking to on those nights when you've been out a bit late. And yet, there he is. Jesus inviting you to come home and to stay, to be with God all the time. And in fact, he says, you don't even have to come to mine, I can come to you. I can come with you, to you, and live with you, and empower you, and free you. Free you from the things that keep you in bondage. Those attitudes and behaviours and habits that keep you from being fully alive. I can set you free. I want you to be free, he says. I love you. Come be with me. So as these lights shine in the darkness, these lights flicker under the force of the wind. What happens if God is living with you and you're living in tenuous circumstances? Well, God is right there. The Lutheran Church in Bethlehem this year has their nativity with the baby Jesus in the middle of the rubble. They say, this is what it's like to live in occupied Palestine right now. In this nativity, the baby is alone. Mary and Joseph are standing outside the rubble searching through. The Magi coming in from outside are searching too. If you recall the story, when Jesus was born, the Magi came and alerted Herod to the possibility of a threat, and so Herod killed all the kids under 2 just to make sure the threat was nullified. This is not fairy story stuff. This is real life political drama, and it happens every day. And it is darkness, and it is life-threatening, and Jesus is right there in the rubble with the people. Jesus is right there saying, I am with you. He's right there calling on the dark hearts of the oppressor and saying, let it go. Where is it that you need to meet with God this year? End of the year gives us a week to think about these things. I'm not suggesting you make New Year's resolutions. They can last all of a week, I guess. But in this last week of the year, what is it that you want to turn over to God and say, I'm done with this. It was never any fun anyway. Show me a better way. Where would you like God to shine his light? What dark corners need lit? Or are there things in the world that you would like to see change and you don't know how to stay alight, on fire for that particular task? I understand. It's hard to stay lit when you're constantly under assault. Jesus is inviting us, all of us, to bring those places into the light. Inviting us to call him to come inside us to keep us lit. To keep us fully alive and vibrant in the face of the oppressive forces that surround us. If you find it's hard to keep on protesting, Jesus can help us stay lit. If you find it hard to keep on surviving, Jesus can help us stay lit. If you want to meet someone who knows that Jesus is keeping them alive, let me know. I'll introduce you to some street people just up the road. I'm not saying it's magic. I'm saying it's a companion who will never let you go and knows exactly what it is to feel how you are. And there is the gift that is being offered to us this Christmas. That fire that burns inside will not go out. That thing that you face alone will no longer be yours on your own. And that fight that keeps on taking you down will no longer threaten you. Amen.